Hello, everybody. Welcome to Punch Up Pod with Lila and Pat, our Sunday night shit show. How are you, Pat? I've missed you. It's been a week.
A whole week. Yeah, we had some time apart, but it's only made our relationship grow stronger.
We still had plenty of texting, although not as much as normal. I was a little off the grid in Cincinnati.
Yeah. How was your trip?
Thank you. First of all, it was great. It was so great to see my brother and my mom, my two nephews who are so adorable and are huge, huge fans of the show. So much so that they were like quoting things back to me that we've said. My younger.
Are you serious? How old are these people?
6 and 10. Luca is 10.
That's bad parenting. What are they doing watching our show?
It's good. Luca, the 10-year-old was like talking about Heinz Hall by Macklemore and other songs. And Evo, the 6-year-old, wanted to see the whole studio and figure out how to do the wheel. And yeah, we had a lot of fun. We pretended, we let it spin. We took drinks. He had sparkling cider. It was fun.
So they're young enough. They think we're on TV. Right.
Yeah. They think we're like megastars. Exactly.
No, big stuff here. We should send them a shot glass. Send them a free shot glass.
Okay, definitely. They would love it. How was your week?
Uneventful. I got nothing to report on here that I'm aware of.
All right. I'm gonna just say two more things about my trip.
Thank you.
My sons and I were the only ones wearing a mask on the plane. And nobody else is wearing a mask. No peanuts are allowed. That's great. I totally get it. I never put my seat back anymore because people get really upset. I had my individual light on and it was like 10:30 at night. The guy behind me taps my shoulder and asks me to turn off my light.
Your personal light? No.
My personal light. So
no.
Listen, I am fine doing things for communal respect, but like if I had turned around and been like, well, I'll turn that off if you put on a mask. Like, I can't have a light on, but you can breathe out your fetid air into my face. It was so bad. And then before that, getting onto the shuttle from the parking to the airport, we're waiting, and the guy comes off. He's like, nobody can get on. Somebody just vomited all over the shuttle. Somebody else comes and brings him a wad of paper towels. He's like, okay, I'll just clean it up. And I was like, whoa, okay, wait, stop. I lied. I said, I'm a doctor. This is a biohazard. You need gloves and a mask and actual disinfectant. Like, what are we doing here? He's just going to slop up chunky vomit with his hands and like paper towel, but not like bleach or disinfectant, no mask. And then people are expected to come on and put their bags down and everything.
What's this world coming to? Yeah. But COVID, you could raw dog it, get a couple times a year. Kids could get it 3-4 times a year.
Totally regressed. Yeah. It was so vile. Wow. But anyway, yeah, mostly it was a really good week, but I missed everybody and happy to be here. We have some stuff to talk about. Are you excited to watch the full interview?
Yeah, we do. And I was just going to say, Cora, she asked in the chat somewhere, well, she said she didn't watch it. She wished she knew so she could keep up. But we're pretty much going to show the whole thing and stop it and counter it with a lot of evidence that it's all poo-poo. So it should be fun.
Yes. Despite expectations, Dana Bash did not, in fact, do a journalism. Not even close. No.
She did a Democratic Party PR.
It is just stunning. I mean, she clearly doesn't care about being a full-blown propagandist for a million different things, but no primaries, basically no real primary in 2016, no primary was like shut down in 2020, no primary in 2024, no interviews until what was it? Is it 46 days since she announced and she was crowned the candidate, and then has to bring on her running mate.
Brings on her running mate for a obviously scripted, staged, short. The whole thing is like 24 minutes or something.
Yeah.
Pre-taped. So if there's a fuck up, they would have just cut that out and not shown it. And they ow. Cat. Sorry. Cat. Hey, this is out of hand here. Sorry. Where was I? Oh, pre-taped. You know, the thing was just lobbing up one after another of like, this is what the people are saying. Can you counter it with something?
Yeah.
Can you counter it with something?
Yeah.
Counter it. Like, that's not journalism. Journalism is, well, that's not a good answer because, or can you, well, then explain why this, or
why is it taking you 46 days to do a sit down interview? Why haven't you had any press conferences? Like, not, well, we'll get into it, but anyway, that was pretty insane. Should we start though with huge thank you to our members, our pup heroes and sheroes. You guys are amazing.
Here. Thank you
all. Yeah, which gets us right off to the glass of wine, the jug of wine. And I don't know, should we do our cheers right now, or?
Yeah, let's get our cheers rocking. This is for the extremely online folks, which is probably all of us here. I'm guessing you'll recognize this man, and I love this song so much. But cheers to all the supporters.
Do we want to set it up at all?
Oh, go ahead. Yeah, set it up.
No, I mean, I don't know. Well, I mean, it's probably there, but everybody probably knows Will Stansel. He says he works, I think, in Minnesota, actually, at University of Minnesota, maybe, in like the public goods department. That's his focus, is how is he going to help the working class, basically. And then he spends all of his time online talking about how Bidenomics is so great, and anybody who's having issues with it just doesn't understand his or her own finances enough, and we're all morons for saying that the economy sucks.
It's exactly what you would hear from some right winger, except this guy's pawning himself off as a progressive on the left. Yeah,
who is like deep throating the DNC and Biden Harris and all of that, and he just ran for some local thing, right?
And lost. He lost handily. It was epic.
Yeah. So this is probably the third time we're showing a creation by No Shoe for Me, who's been awesome. Also did the kids who were able to, with a water jug, beat back the police as the police were trying to enter one of their encampments or one of the buildings. So this is No Shoe for Me, giving a fond eulogy for the political ambitions of Will Stansel.
Meet Mr. Will Stansel, the finest tweet writer. Dork boy Willie, the Biden meat rider. Always on the web like you find many spiders. Old man fetish he likes, he desires to tweet every minute just so he could feel important. But everything that comes up out his mouth, horseshit. He hugs Biden's nuts real tight, and it's nuts how he got lots of opinions and all of them suck. Little cuck man, genocide Joe's big fan. He looks like Elon Musk is his real dad, and Michael Cera is his real mom. Big fact, she's the super bad pundit, but he thinks he's Superman. Cringeworthy Willie, he's a wannabe celeb. Hawk to what he says when he's giving Biden head. Let's just be honest and not beat around the bush. Yeah, Willie getting squished, what he telling me to cook. Look at him trying to say that everything is fine, even when your fucking milk is costing $7.99. I'ma rhyme like I never had a diamond. I impress, shitting on the white man and his vision of success, while the whole planet suffers at the empire's hands. Willie just wanna be the emperor's right hand. Little corny Willy Wonka wanna talk about change. Will thinks I am legend, but this movie ain't the same. Fucking brain rot, trying to go and read what you be posting. Fuck Will, he'll have to write his will after I floated.
Fuck Will Stansel, gobble up a handful of Biden nuts just so he could feel like he's the man. Ooh, fuck Will Stansel, gobble up a handful of Biden nuts just so he could feel like he the man. Ooh, ooh, damn.
That needs to go in my playlist.
Yeah, he's awesome. And yes, Justin, that's right. It was Cal Poly Humboldt, and it was so great with the water jugs and, you know, against the cops. Also, thank you, Oz. Thank you, Oz the Boomer. Cheers to you. Thank you. Thank you. That always just makes me emotional when people are nice. All right.
Free Palestine, by the way, somebody pointed out the hat.
Nice. I like the hat. Wait, you're reading faster than I am. I can't read
it was
fast
up above.
It was way above. Okay, yeah, that is a good hat. I like it. I know I need to, you know, I'm still wearing on my old Bernie and Bernie inspired tank tops around the house because it's like 103 degrees in the valley where I live. And some of them are just like Medicare for All. Like it doesn't say Bernie, but some do. But right. I need to start doing more. And I have a lot of defund the police ones. And I also need Gaza and Palestine wear. All right. Should we
I think we should spin the wheel.
Let's do it. All right, here I go. And we're off to the races.
Give me some joy.
All right. That's a good one. I'm closing.
Should we keep it musical? Let's keep it musical.
Okay. I like it. That's very cute. I love it.
For no damn reason. Probably should have saved some of that for to break up this boring video we're gonna watch.
We've got.
We'll bring the outrage.
We'll bring the out. Yeah. Kimmy, thank you so much. Super sticker. Thank you. And
it's just like a cat I used to have.
Her what's that called?
Her AVI. Emoji. Yeah.
And Hope, I just want you to know, I saw as it was playing what you wrote. My rent, food, and insurance doubled in the last 4 years. So I get really irritated when they tell me how good the economy is. Yeah, I know. It's horrible. It's so dismissive and disgusting and out of touch with all of it. And I'm sorry. Oh my God. And then and now I see you're doing a super sticker. Thank you. My gosh, thank you. That's very sweet. Yeah. Well, at least we got the vice president of Bidenomics in the house. So,
but that's why you get these guys, Will Stancils of the world. I mean, the Democratic Party is spending millions online that it's not reported on. I mean, Hillary Clinton had $1 million in trolls just to counter the leftists, but Biden had like 3 to 5 million, I believe. And now we've got all this influencer cash going around. See some podcasts out there that suddenly overnight are like, Kamala's so great. I'm like,
what?
That's a little sus. And you know what we're talking about.
Really sus.
At least
I don't like it.
It's pretty gross. And I have to think there's some Kamala bucks going around for that. Because look, if our show suddenly tomorrow was just like go Kamala, like even if I was going to tell you guys to vote for Kamala, which I'm not going to do, I wouldn't just do it like that. I would gradually say, I would make an argument slowly, and start saying, I think we really have to, whatever. I wouldn't just pivot like that. You pivot like that. I mean, it's immoral. Like, what are you doing anyway? But like,
I agree. And listen, I even understand. I mean, I don't subscribe to this philosophy, but I know there are some people who are so terrified. They've been so brainwashed that Trump is so much worse than it doesn't matter that all of Biden's policies have been, except for like a couple of things with labor, the FTC and Lena Khan, but like mostly this has been a way worse 4 years than Trump. But okay, if you feel like the mean tweets are just beyond, but to make that switch so suddenly and to be shitty to people who aren't going to vote, like who want to vote third party, that does feel inorganic.
It is inorganic. We know this. I'm sorry. I know it. Yeah.
But, before we get into too much trouble, I'm just going to say, please make sure to like and subscribe and smash that notification bell. Thank you so much. Pat's favorite announcement.
Punch it up.
Yeah.
We get to this glorious interview.
Yeah, let's just go. Good.
And don't worry, we will definitely stop this a lot to show some stuff and distract you from how painfully awful it is.
It's
Madam
rough.
Vice President, Governor Walz, thank you so much for sitting down with me and bringing the bus. Bus tour is well underway here in Georgia. You have less time to make your case to voters than any candidate in modern American history. The voters are really eager to hear what your plans are. If you are elected, what would you do on day one in the White House?
Well, there are a number of things. I will tell you, first and foremost, one of my highest priorities is to do what we can to support and strengthen the middle class. When I look at the aspirations, the goals, the ambitions of the American people, I think that people are ready for a new way forward, in a way that generations of Americans have been fueled by hope and by optimism. I think, sadly, in the last decade, we have had in the former president someone who has really been pushing an agenda and in an environment that is about diminishing the character and the strength of who we are as Americans, really dividing our nation, and I think people are ready to turn the page on that.
So what would you do day?
Okay.
Yeah, please. Like, let's
I
just,
know we can stop this a lot, but
yeah.
stop pretending you're not the vice president right now.
Like
Like,
the last 10 years she's talking
Turn
about.
the page in the last 10 years. The last 4 are you. They're you. The division of this country was from the president who said he was going to be the most unifying president, work across the aisle, yada, yada. And obviously we're going to hear all about her walking across the aisle tonight. But
Yeah, that's what she's going to, like, they can't trip over their feet fast enough to reach across the aisle to the Republicans. Yeah. I mean, the pandemic of the unvaccinated, that was huge, right? And then anybody who's talking about division or like lack of civility, who is funding, arming, providing cover for a genocide, like, I don't know how that's not just what everybody says right off the bat. And I don't care. Would Trump be worse? Maybe. I don't know. I mean, I don't know how you could be worse, but okay, I'm sure he could show us how, but he didn't do that in his 4 years. And right now there is something happening, which is, I mean, crime after crime against humanity, atrocity. And like, we're just going to bring civility back and joy. It's joy.
But even on the joy and civility level, they're failing because they're running as the Republicans are weird. Republicans are weird. Like, how are you unifying the country when you're saying, Republicans are weird, but you're like, no, it's just the MAGA Republicans. Well, that's a quarter of the country at least. And, and you're making up stuff about JD Vance being a couch fucker. Now that's funny. I could laugh. I will always laugh at him being a couch fucker. Yeah. But you're not taking the high ground when you're doing that shit.
Yeah.
You're not getting past the last 10 years by doing that shit.
Luckily, we have Dana Bash on the prowl to dig under the facade and get to the truth about what's happening here.
Let's hear.
All right.
Day one, it's going to be about, one, implementing my plan for what I call an opportunity economy. I've already laid out a number of proposals in that regard, which include what we're going to do to bring down the cost of everyday goods, what we're going to do to invest in America's small businesses, what we're going to do to invest in families, for example, extending the child tax credit to $6,000.
Which they could have done.
$1,000 for families for the first year of their child's life to help them buy a car seat, to help them buy baby clothes, a crib. There's the work that we're going to do that is about investing in the American family around affordable housing, a big issue in our country right now. So there are a number of things on day one.
What about you?
Well, I'm excited about this agenda too. As I said, the idea of inspiring America to what can be, and I think many of these things that the Vice President's proposing are things that we share in values. And the child tax credit is one we know that reduces childhood poverty by 1/3. We did it in Minnesota. To have a federal partner in this, unbelievable, I think, in the impact that we can make.
You talked about, you call it the opportunity economy. You are well aware that right now many Americans are struggling. There's a crisis of affordability. One of your campaign themes is we're not going back. But I wonder what you say to voters who do want to go back when it comes to the economy specifically, because their groceries were less expensive, housing was more affordable when Donald Trump was president.
Well, let's start with the fact that when Joe Biden and I came in office, during the height of a pandemic, we saw over 10 million jobs were lost. People, I mean, literally, we were all tracking the numbers. Hundreds of people a day were dying because of COVID. The economy had crashed.
They are still.
In large.
I mean, they're still dying now. I think we've hit 1,000 a week for 2 weeks in a row. And the 10 million people who lost their jobs, I mean, Trump was awful with COVID. Awful. There was nothing good about him. It's the only reason, in my opinion, that Biden won was because Trump was such an evil disaster.
And the danger of seeing how irresponsible Trump was treating COVID.
Yeah.
But then we just went in and changed nothing. Fucking nothing.
We just
took away all the programs we forced on Trump.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Trump didn't want to do any of that because Democrats weren't in power. They could lobby for it. Biden comes in, McKinsey's himself out of it, just declares it over. And now they won't even talk about it. Amazing. Back when we were having COVID. Okay, sorry. I won't stop it quite so much.
All of that because of mismanagement by Donald Trump of that crisis. When we came in, our highest priority was to do what we could to rescue America. And today, we know that we have inflation at under 3%. A lot of our policies have led to the reality that America recovered faster than any wealthy nation around the world. But you are right. Prices, in particular for groceries, are still too high. The American people know it, I know it. Which is why my agenda includes what we need to do to bring down the price of groceries. For example, dealing with an issue like price gouging. What we need to do to extend the child tax credit to help young families be able to take care of their children in their most formative years. What we need to do to bring down the cost of housing. My proposal includes what would be a tax credit of $25,000 for first-time home buyers, so they can just have enough to put a down payment on a home, which is part of the American dream.
Tax credits are such neoliberal bullshit, right? You have to fill out all the paperwork, make sure you qualify, hope that you crossed all your T's and dotted your I's. She's never said that she's going to get rid of these business practices where BlackRock and real estate, one of those, that they can't buy single family homes, these huge companies, which
that's the elephant in the room.
Right? Yeah.
That they're ignoring completely. That the housing crisis is almost exclusively because all these big corporations bought up collectively the housing market. They own the housing market.
Yeah.
And there's no regulation on it. And she calls for no regulation on it.
Nope.
Basically, she wants to give a tax credit, which is a financial incentive for a poor person who probably isn't going to be able to actually afford owning the home because it's so fucking ridiculously expensive, that they're going to be in further debt. It's going to ruin their lives instead of help them, lift them out of poverty.
100%. And again, tax credits and means testing, all of that, though, when you attach that to any policy, what you are doing is building in the mechanism under which that policy will fail. And also at the same time, making sure that the transfer of money will go to BlackRock and Vanguard and all these big companies that buy up all the houses.
Yeah. Right. And I mean, we know that, look, in theory, it would be great if you could make it easier for people to get a house, right? This is what this is calling for. But if you're not putting the onus on BlackRock and these big institutions,
right,
they are going to, this is disaster capitalism, 100%. They're going to come in and just gouge people, screw people over entirely. And there's no talk of regulation on them. And they're the biggest problem. They are the biggest problem. If you don't talk about regulating them somehow and breaking up the monopolies they have on the housing market, you're not going to solve anything. You're going to give loans to people who have a $750,000 apartment.
Right. Yeah.
And everybody's rent goes up in even if you're not owning, your rent is high because of these fucking people.
Exactly. And again, this will end up just being just like Obamacare, an enormous transfer of money to the huge companies that are the very creators of the problem she's pretending she's going to solve.
And the government's going to end up bailing out those institutions eventually. It's
like
just
Obama
the writing's on the
2.0.
wall. We know, we've seen this playbook.
Yep. Great policy. Opportunity. What'd she call it? An opportunity economy.
And their aspiration, but do it in a way that allows them to actually get on the path to achieving that goal and that dream.
So you have been vice president for 3.5 years.
Yeah.
The steps that you're talking about now, why haven't you done them already?
Well, first of all, we had to recover as an economy, and we have done that. I'm very proud of the work that we have done that has brought inflation down to less than 3%. The work that we have done to cap the cost of insulin at $35 a month for seniors. Donald Trump said he was going to do a number of things, including allowing Medicare to negotiate drug prices. Never happened. We did it. So now, as I travel
They
in
didn't
the state
do
of
it.
Georgia and around our country, the number of seniors
10
that have
medicines.
benefited. I was in Nevada recently, a grandmother who showed me her receipts. And before we capped the cost of insulin for seniors at $35 a month, she was paying hundreds of dollars, up to thousands of dollars a month for her insulin. She's not doing that any
You
longer.
maintain Bidenomics is a success.
Right. I just have to stop this because they keep running on that they lowered the cost of drugs across the board. They just put it out there vaguely.
Yeah.
At least I'll give her some credit. She's actually
10.
being honest here about saying for seniors, but that hundreds of dollars that people are paying for insulin, if you're not a senior, you're still paying that hundreds of dollars. So to come out and say you lowered the price of drugs, and ultimately it's like 10 drugs that they got agreements to phase in regulation in 10 years. It's absurd. And like I said last week or last show or whatever, they picked insulin, which is great. It affects a lot of people, but it's not patented. There's nothing to it. It's fucking making sugar from bees. It's like, there's no reason it should ever cost any more than $5. I mean, at this point, it's some basic shit. So now, what are you going to do for the $20,000 AIDS drug you need to stay alive?
Yeah. Or cancer treatments, or just being able to go to a doctor for preventative treatments, right? For well checkups. It'd be so much better to have everybody go for checkups instead of waiting until you're so sick and then you don't have any ability to pay the ridiculous amounts of money. And I'm sorry, but listen, I know anytime I ever say anything about the president, any president online, I get a lot of actually, politics explainers about how it has to go through Congress and you need to.
Yeah. So tell us.
When the leader of the free world was, by the way, just handed exponential powers, unlimited powers that they're telling us we should be worried about when Trump comes in. You have it right now. Right? You could actually say we're in a state of emergency, not because of 9/11, which he keeps re-upping, but because of COVID. People are still dying. They're still getting sick. We have tens of millions of people who are uninsured or underinsured. You could declare Medicare for all. Just the way you skirted 26 environmental laws to continue building Trump's wall, just the way you bypass Congress to keep sending weapons to a genocide. I bet if you wanted, you could bypass Congress to get something done for the people. That's not just capping insulin at $35 for seniors who are on Medicaid or with all the different.
But that the other piece to that is, okay, if you're not going to use the powers you actually have, which, as you mentioned, if you just kept the pandemic relief alive and didn't pretend the pandemic was gone, that grants you massive powers to protect your citizens. So you could have enabled all that healthcare. But if you're not going to do that, if you're going to say we're powerless, well, what is going to change when you win, if you do win? Because Dana Bash should be asking her, okay, well, with a combative Republican Party that's going to block everything, explain your plan to get this done. That's a journalist.
Well, and I'll tell you, because I think I've now watched this a couple of times, but in there somewhere, she'll be like, if Congress delivers me a bill.
Yes,
that's
exactly.
her whole plan.
That's the whole thing.
My plan is you all elect more Democrats. Let's try not to get any of the right-wing Democrats that we always support over the progressive ones, so that we don't have the rotating villain. Then please give me a bill and I'll sign it. That's going to be her response whenever she's pushed on it. Congress gives me a bill on it. Like that's her plan. And she wants to be leader of the free world. Yeah.
Just remind people that California had its own state version of Medicare for All, and it was the same thing. We got all these pledges to sign the bill. Give me a bill. I promise you I'll vote for it. I promise you I'll vote for it. And it's still not come before them to vote for, because Anthony Rendon, who was captured by the pharmaceutical industry, refused to bring it up as a favor to all the shit libs in California. So we have the votes.
Yeah.
So they're not going to bring it. They're not bringing him a bill, just like they're not going to bring her a bill. They're all owned. Like, how are they? How is Congress going to magically bring her a bill when they're all paid to not pass a bill that changes our health insurance structure?
Just like with the child tax credit, it was allowed to expire. And then after the midterms, when it was never going to pass, that's when Biden wanted to put it back in again, when he knew that it would be voted against by Republicans. That's the whole game. Like, it is the whole game. We're getting a little bit of a request.
I think we have to listen to our audience here.
All right.
I'm already sick of talking about Kamala.
Well, you got a couple more minutes.
Yeah, baby.
Oh, there we go.
There we go. All right. I'm gonna close and spin again, just in case there's a fun cleanse on the way.
Yeah, baby.
What do we got? Wait, I need to close it. I need to come back to my other screen. There's so many.
Chomsky or Hedges? We got two choices here. What do you think?
What do you got? They're both so good. Let's do a quick one now, just so we can get back and get through some of it. Let's do Hedges first.
Hedges. Here.
The moral universe has now been turned upside down. Those of us who oppose genocide are accused of advocating it. Those who carry out genocide are said to have the right to defend themselves. Vetoing ceasefires and providing 2,000-pound bombs to Israel is the road to peace. Refusing to negotiate will free the hostages. Carrying out genocide in Gaza is a way to de-radicalize Palestinians. None of this makes sense. If the genocide in Gaza is not halted, it will presage a new world order. It will be a world where nations with vast bureaucratic structures and technologically advanced military systems carry out in public view massive killing projects. The industrialized nations, fearful of global chaos, are sending an ominous message to the global south and anyone who might think of revolt. We will kill you without restraint, and no one will stop us. One day, you will all be Palestinians.
That is so heavy, and it really is, I think, why so many people, I mean, it's horrific, and I saw Cora write that she saw so many beheaded babies or people this week, and our dead children. I mean, it is so awful, and it is what's in store for all of us. No one except for Ansar Allah, the Houthis, is doing anything to try to stop it. And you know, we're not even really covering this today, but everybody was so excited on the left here in the US that when Macron called a special election, snap elections in France, that the left actually, they didn't get a majority, but they got the most votes. They should be seated. Right now, he is Macron refusing to honor the will of the people who voted for the left parties. And instead, he's not even meeting with them. He's meeting with Marine Le Pen, the outright fascist. to talk to her about it, because he's saying, I don't think that they would get anything passed through Congress or through their parliament. Everybody would ignore, nothing would happen. So there's democracy. We pretend that Venezuela doesn't have a real democracy. We've tried to stage 2 coups. Here is France actually completely pretending that an election didn't just happen.
And I mean, that's the roadmap to shut down the left. It's like democracy's at stake, so we have to ignore democracy and shut down the left. Like that's how captured all of these governments are. Corporate capture, 100% up and down the ticket. And look, I don't say don't vote, but like vote, especially because there's a lot of local and state issues and county issues that matter.
Yeah.
But you're not going to change like even if Bernie had won, Bernie would have had to do everything he could via executive powers, because nothing he wanted to get done was ever going to pass through the House or Congress.
I mean, the only other thing is the inside-outside strategy, and seeing how he abandoned it as soon as he endorsed Biden. I mean, in my fantasy, if he had become president, he would have encouraged the outside. He would have felt like he had some mandate to keep that going. But man, he just shut it all down so fast.
No, I don't think that he wouldn't have tried. And I think he would have done a lot of good things, and it would have grown the left a lot. And he has the bully pulpit. Who knows what he could do to change sentiment in this country, but they would have done anything they could to stop him. Yeah. And the disdain for anybody who's not corporate captured, like it's a lottery ticket scratcher if you think you're going to move up and advance in the country and politics, even from a local level. You could win your local office, but once they figure out you're not a corporate, you're not playing ball.
Yeah,
your ceiling is capped at that position. You could win that. You're mayor. Okay, you could be mayor again. Maybe you could be mayor of a bigger city, but like you're not going to become governor as a leftist.
I think you're right. I will say. And I mean, I don't think he's going to have any effect on Kamala's, regime if she wins. But I do think that what Tim Walz was able to do I think they had one extra Democrat in Minnesota. And I guess he just flew under the radar. I'm kind of shocked that he didn't have more pushback. And he did stuff that I don't agree with also. He definitely capitulated to businesses and stuff at some points. But he did actually enact some really good policies. But nothing has ever changed on a national level by voting. That's not how it works.
But I think with him, again, it is the under the radar, which is why he was able to get away with it. In California, you're not going to do that. None of that stuff's going to work, even though there's more demand from the population for it than probably anywhere else in the world. Right. But the only reason Gavin Newsom got there is because of all the big tech and the Hollywood studios and all the people who are funding him. He's always going to choose them over us. Zainab, thank you. $6. Absolutely.
Thank
Zainab,
you.
cheers.
Thank you. Yes. Cheers.
All right. I'm going to take us off track a little bit. We've got a worst of the week this week, and it's somebody
in a bash.
we're talking about here a little bit, but since we're on the democracy part of it, let's hear from AOC today on the Green Party.
Disgusting.
Get out your puke bags, please.
Y'all, this is a little spicy, but I have thoughts.
It's a little spicy.
I feel like I should save this for a live. I'm not coming for people who are thinking about this. I'll talk to you.
Everyone to see how angry I am.
What I have a problem with is the fact that if you are running for president, you are the de facto leader of your party. And first of all, trust me on this. I run as a third party candidate in New York. I'm also run as a working families party candidate in addition to running as a Democrat. Because trust me, I've been on record about my criticisms of a two-party system. So this is not about that. But you are the leader of your party. And if you run for years and years and years and years and years in a row, and your party has not grown, and you don't add city council seats, and you don't add down ballot candidates, and you don't add state electeds, that's bad leadership. And that to me is what's upsetting. Because if you have been your party's nominee for 12 years in a row, 4 years ago, and 4 years before that, and 4 years before that, and you cannot grow your movement.
How long has she been?
Pretty much at all.
What's her movement?
And can't pursue any successful strategy, and all you do is show up once every 4 years to speak to people who are justifiably pissed off, but you're just showing up once every 4 years to do that. You're not serious. You're not to me, it does not read as authentic. It reads as predatory. I'm sorry. I'm just saying it. Predatory. Because as a person, I endorse Working Families Party candidates. I endorse DSA candidates. I take risks, and I endorse even in primaries against Democrats when it's merited. What does this person do to grow power for the?
Okay.
Ooh.
There's so much there that's disgusting, but I do think we should just take a really quick look at AOC's Big Accomplishments, which we can't see because this is so small, but I'm going to put on my readers that Devin loves and read for you that June 26th in 2018, this is what she was talking about. Universal jobs guarantee. Haven't heard her mention it once. Fully funded public schools and universities. Nope, not since 2020. Haven't heard her talk about it. Paid family and sick leave. Nothing. Housing is a human right. Justice system reform. Immigration justice. Remember her crying at the border. Infrastructure overhaul. I mean, that she's going to say the, IRA, the Inflation Reduction Act. Clean campaign finance. Nothing. An economy of peace. She is now endorsing genocide. She's such an asshole. And also, when I think this is right, and I know Zainab's in the chat, and maybe there's other people who also really know, but if the presidential campaign clears 5%, they get money that then they can use not only for that one presidential campaign, but for national, local campaigns, I think. So every time Jill Stein is sued off, or the Democrats, which is their whole focus, is suing her off the ballot, she and the Green Party have to use money in their coffers, depleting their coffers, which gives them less money to run local candidates. Or
it's the whole point of all the lawsuits.
And then they're going to be like, you're so unserious. Only people who are billionaires are serious.
And look, I just want to go back to her talk about growing the party. What has she done for the left movement? She has turned more people away from Bernie's movement than anyone. Yep. Even Bernie didn't turn people off as much as she did with her bullshit.
I agree.
And if you're serious and you're going to put this video out talking about how Jill Stein isn't serious, maybe you should know that it wasn't 12 years straight. You didn't even know that Howie Hawkins was the last candidate. Like, you didn't even know that? You're supposed to be a leftist where we're looking for growth outside of the Democratic Party. How about you, as this bring the ruckus person, don't endorse fucking Genocide Joe. Don't tell us he's the most fucking progressive candidate we've had in decades. How about you leave the party and you grow the Greens, or you grow anything else? You do anything, you do fuck all. And she doesn't know what Jill Stein does. She doesn't even know that Jill Stein wasn't the last Green candidate.
I mean, that's pathetic. And it's
so shut the fuck up.
Yeah, next she's going to be like, she's a Putin apologist. Why'd she have dinner with Putin? Like, I mean, she like. Also, I'm sorry. Listen, I am not a prude. You've been to my house. There are naked pictures of me around the house. Like, but like, you are.
Are there? I did not even see that. Did you hide them when I came? No, I swear to God.
Are you serious?
I have no idea that's a thing.
That's hilarious.
Wow.
But like, she's a sitting congresswoman. Don't lie on your back and do an Instagram and then talk about this is spicy. Like, fuck off. Sit down and like have a real conversation. People are dying.
It's so insulting.
It's so gross. I honestly, she has done more to kill the left for me than any individual. Because Bernie actually, I think, does believe, I think he's scared and he's 82 or whatever. Like, he's, and again, don't agree with him on everything, but like, I actually think whatever. It doesn't matter. But I don't think he's just a careerist. I think there's other stuff going on there.
No,
as bad as she has nothing.
She is AOC Pelosi as the VP for the Greens called her.
Which is why she's probably.
When Pelosi came to office, she was as down with Medicare for All, or didn't exist yet, but free universal health care. She was exactly AOC when she came to office, and AOC pivoted to that. I don't know how long she's been in office. I don't even know. 6 years now, maybe 4 years.
Since 6 since 2018.
6? Yeah.
Yeah, and sorry, because Zainab's written this a couple of times. I just want to make sure, because I maybe bungled my words because I'm on my second glass of wine. Most people don't realize in order to even maintain the party status, Greens or any third party has to run a POTUS or statewide race. So those votes help maintain to run any local. So like even just saying that is so wildly ignorant, but why would you ever shit on like that is the thing that really I think is illustrative of where her loyalties are. Like it's one thing to come out for Biden because you're so scared of Trump, but to shit all over somebody who actually has the whole platform that you pretended to have 6 years ago.
Yeah, and if I just want to also look, if you, I don't know, who was that other person that put out a TikTok that was the same kind of TikTok, but it was from a sort of leftist person, and Jason Call was going to have a discussion with her tonight live.
Yeah,
I forget her name, but I appreciated her message, even though I didn't agree with it. But she put out a lot of this stuff. It's kind of the same vibe of like, what have they done to grow the party? And I don't trust them, whatever. But like, at least that is open to a talk. She was going to have a discussion. The other person's going to go somewhere with this talk. And Blakely, but I think,
I saw you write that, and I knew you knew, and now I see your correction. Thank you. And then yes, Blakely. Okay, got it. Thank you.
Okay, but back to the what Zaina was saying, which is important. Like even the Green VP candidate that said no, her argument was, I want to be able to leverage this position basically to change Democratic policy on Palestine. And Blakely had the same thing. She's like, you know, I would hope that you would basically, like, what are you doing? Because you're not saying Democratic Party needs to do this and I'll drop out. That was kind of her argument without actually saying it directly. But if they drop out, you're setting back third parties exponentially in the future because you're not going to be on these ballots. And it's like, it's such a
Nora, you know, who they asked to be Ericat, who was one of the people who is possibly going to be the VP pick for the Green Party, said, if we can leverage it, that was also part of it. If we can leverage this to get them to stop arming Israel, will you drop out? Will we as a Green team?
But what you would get is probably, most likely, you would get an agreement to do something that isn't followed up on anyway. There's no leverage system.
We'll have a committee. We'll form a committee.
But then what's the outcome? You killed the Green Party. You set the Green Party back 10 years.
Yeah.
And why would you do that? And if you're Jill Stein, even if you personally want to do that, you're throwing the Green Party under the bus by doing that.
Yeah.
Like, it just doesn't make sense. So like, these are just silly arguments. And for AOC to be a leftist and, like I said, not even know Howie Hawkins was on. What
she's really disgusting.
What are you doing? Shut up, AOC. Like that is for centrists and people that don't follow politics. She's talking to younger people that weren't around 10 years ago, or well, I don't know, they were around, but they weren't following this until now. If you're following this, you know that's all bullshit.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, she did kill I have not donated to anybody since she made her big switch. She killed it all for me. Adria, I saw that. I'm sure Pat did too. SEP has been really good and principled. They have so much integrity, fighting for true democracy. Like, don't agree with everything Cornel West says, but we fight for his right to be on the ballot. And if you believe in democracy, you do not try to shut people up. You run on your ideas. Like, it's such a.
I will say, I really respect Jill Stein, and my vote's going to her. But if I was to pick, like, hey, who can actually win, it doesn't matter. Just pick your person.
Yeah.
SCP all day.
Yeah.
To me.
Same.
Sorry, Greens, but I mean
same. Well, I mean,
they
so
take
good.
COVID seriously.
They take
Jill
COVID
Stein
seriously.
sucks on COVID.
Yeah. Okay. Wait, I know we're gonna go back. Like, it's so hard to go back to. It's like two awful people between Kamala and AOC, but I guess we're going back to the interview. Ready?
Roll it.
Or what?
Sure. Yeah. Let's do it.
Okay. Oh, there we go. All right, here we go.
That when we do the work of bringing down prescription medication for the American people, including capping the cost of the annual cost of prescription medication for seniors at $2,000.
When we do the work of one drug that's super cheap to make, and that's about it, and the other drugs, a couple of them for some people, like, shut up. You're not, like, use those things and say you're going to expand it. Just, that's killing me.
When we do what we did in the first year of being in office to extend the child tax credit so that we cut child poverty in America by over 50%, when we do what we have done to invest in the American people and...
Sorry, that's a lie. They didn't even claim at the time it was 50% because they got railed so hard on the fact that the $15 minimum wage, they made sure that didn't pass. So it could not be a 50%. But she says by over 50%, and there's just no pushback. Ugh.
And at least Walz earlier said, cut it by a third. Like, he was honest about it.
Exactly.
Bringing manufacturing back to the United States so that we created over 800,000 new manufacturing jobs, bringing business back to America. What we have done to improve the supply chain so we're not relying on foreign governments to supply American families with their basic needs. I'll say that that's good work. There's more to do, but that's good work.
I want to get some clarity on where you stand on some key policy issues.
This is fun. Here we go.
Energy is a big one. When you were in Congress, you supported the Green New Deal. And in 2019, you said, quote, "There is no question I'm in favor of banning fracking." Fracking, as you know, is a pretty big issue, particularly in your must-win state of Pennsylvania.
Sure.
Do you still want to ban fracking?
No, and I made that clear on the debate stage in 2020.
Let's just do a quick rewind, should we?
Let's check on
1 second. I had it all set up. Oh, there. Okay.
There's no question I'm in favor of banning fracking. So yeah, and starting with what we can do on day one around public lands, right? And then there has to be legislation. But yes, and this is something I've taken on in California. I have a history of working on this issue. And to your point, would not ban fracking. As vice president, I did not ban fracking. As president, I will not ban fracking.
So, sorry, but how are you a climate?
In 2019, I believe, at a town hall, you said, you were asked, would you commit to implementing a federal ban on fracking on your first day in office? And you said, there's no question I'm in favor of banning fracking. So yes. So it changed in that campaign?
In 2020, I made very clear where I stand. We are in 2024, and I've not changed that position, nor will I going forward. I kept my word, and I will keep my word.
What made you?
Your word was that you were going to ban fracking.
And then you changed your mind to destroy the environment, and now that's the word you're going to keep, and you're not changing it. Don't worry, fossil fuel companies who are giving me millions of dollars.
Yeah, and look, if we're doing a journalism here,
it's the closest she's ever gotten, by the way.
Well, that was a little bit of a question, but like, this is the obvious thing that everybody's going to color on. You know, this is a huge, clear, like, this is putting someone's weaknesses in front of them to let them overcome it and then pretend it's overcame. Right. Because a real journalist would say, how can you possibly protect the environment when fracking undoes all the gains you make by all this carbon tax and all this other stuff?
Right.
Like, all those gains are offset if you just let fracking go. That one thing alone means you don't care about the environment.
It's really interesting to me right now that, you know, it's one of my favorite movies is Broadcast News. I just love it so much. It's like an updated network, sort of. I know everybody, I'm sure, has already seen it. It's 40 years old now. But these journalists, they are not educated. They don't have history. They don't know politics, really. They don't know policy. They don't read up on any subject in particular. It's like the difference between, you know, in public schools, teachers all have to have teaching credentials. At private schools, they don't. They're often, though, a PhD in their subject. So when you go to a private school, you might have somebody who doesn't know exactly how to make up a worksheet, but she's a PhD in physics. And this, to me, is a really stark contrast between what it is to be a journalist who really understands the issues. And I don't think Dana Bash has an inkling. She doesn't care. She doesn't know what fracking is. She doesn't know probably that Biden is outproduced oil over Trump and Obama outproduced oil over George W. Like nothing. Doesn't know anything except what's being said to her in her ear.
I hear you on that. I just think you can't get to the stage that they are in journalism without playing ball and understanding where you have to go with stories and what you can talk about and not in the right way. And she was picked for this interview because she's the most ball player they got.
Yeah.
And she's a radical Zionist too. I mean, we'll get to that piece of it, but Dana Bash.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, I just think if you have real knowledge and understanding, I mean, I guess I'm sure there are plenty of far right people who have knowledge and understanding and they couldn't give a shit and they just take the money. So I was going to say, I don't think you'd be as easily bought, but I guess that doesn't really give you scruples or integrity. Yeah, you're right. All right.
Yeah. I don't know.
I'm just going to.
It's capitalism. Dana Bash is here for her long-term future, and you have no future at CNN.
Her name. I feel like it's a microaggression, and I am here for it.
It actually isn't. I just cannot call her Dana or whatever. What is it?
Dana.
I don't even know.
Dana. All right.
I don't care what she says about Kamala.
Yeah.
A rat's ass.
And you scum. Okay. Are you pushing
it? Here, I'll push it.
Okay. Do you need me to push it?
That's who she really is right there.
God, I'm going to vomit a little bit in my mouth.
If they let her go out there and talk to the press all the time, it would be that, her talking about recipes, and her getting mad at any real question and talking in circles and word salad, obviously.
I am speaking.
I'm speaking.
Okay.
Change that position at the time?
Well, let's be clear. My values have not changed. I believe it is very important that we take seriously what we must do to guard against what is a clear crisis in terms of the climate. And to do that, we can do what we have accomplished thus far. The Inflation Reduction Act, what we have done to invest, by my calculation, over probably $1 trillion over the next 10 years, investing in a clean energy economy. What we've already done, creating over 300,000 new clean energy jobs. That tells me, from my experience as vice president, we can do it without banning fracking. In fact, Dana, I cast the tie-breaking vote that actually increased leases for fracking as vice president. So I'm very clear about where I stand.
And was there some policy
this whole thing
or
is set
scientific data that you saw that you said, oh?
I mean, okay, this is so insane that she's like, I am so into the fracking. I'm surprised that Dana keeps pushing on it and is clearly not getting a very good answer. Like, for Dana Bash, this is a pinnacle of her journalistic integrity, truly, right now. This is it. This is as high as she's ever going. She's asked it 3 times in a row and not out of sight.
Just to remind people, it's a setup, because the point of this thing was to make her appealing to Republicans. So what we see as a negative, that she's getting pressed on fracking, she's like, I just want everyone to know my vote got fracking continued. I'm the fracker. I'm the fracker.
Keep that money coming. Keep the money coming. All right.
Okay, I get it now.
What I have seen is that we can grow and we can increase a thriving clean energy economy without banning fracking.
Okay.
Liar.
Another issue, big one, is immigration. Mm-hmm. As vice president, you were tasked with addressing the root causes of migration in southern countries, and
Northern part of Central America.
The northern part
Yeah.
of Central America that affects the southern border of the U.S. During the Biden-Harris administration, there were record numbers of illegal border crossings. Why did the Biden-Harris administration wait 3.5 years to implement sweeping asylum restrictions?
Well, first of all, the root causes work that I did as vice president, that I was asked to do by the president, has actually resulted in a number of benefits, including historic investments by American businesses in that region. The number of immigrants coming from that region has actually reduced since we began that work. But I will say this, that Joe Biden and I and our administration worked with members of the United States Congress on an immigration issue that is very significant to the American people and to our security, which is the border. And through bipartisan work, including some of the most conservative members of the United States Congress, a bill was crafted, which we supported, which I support. And Donald Trump got word of this bill that would have contributed to securing our border, and because he believes that it would not have helped him politically, he told his folks in Congress, don't put it forward. He killed the bill. A border security bill that would have put 1,500 more agents on the border. And let me tell you something, the Border Patrol endorsed the bill. And I'm sure in large part because they knew they were working around the clock, and 1,500 more agents would help them. That bill would have allowed us to increase seizures of fentanyl. Ask any community in America that has been devastated by fentanyl what passing that bill would have done to address their concern and a pain that they've experienced.
So you would push that legislation again. I just want to
Not
ask
only
about
push it, I will make sure that it comes to my desk and I would sign it.
just one other question about something that you said in 2019 when you first ran. There was a debate. You raised your hand when asked whether or not the border should be decriminalized. Do you still believe that?
I believe there should be consequence. We have laws that have to be followed and enforced that address and deal with people who cross our border illegally, and there should be consequence. And let's be clear, in this race, I'm the only person who has prosecuted transnational criminal organizations who traffic in guns, drugs, and human beings. I'm the only person in this race who actually served a border state as Attorney General to enforce our laws, and I would enforce our laws as president going forward. I recognize the problem.
Generally speaking,
I'm the only cop here. I'm the bad guy. I'm the only one out here doing this actual shit that shouldn't be done, that the left doesn't support. That's me. I'm the one. Me.
I am a Republican. Why would you even vote for anybody else? If she's elected president, Kamala Harris pledges to spend hundreds of millions of dollars on the wall along the southern border, a project she once opposed and called un-American during the Trump administration. And just in case that's not enough, let's just see her little clip about the wall in 2019.
This issue is about a vanity project for this president. Right. And it is a problem of his own making. Right. And listen, when I travel this country, folks have plenty enough problems that they need their president to focus on, instead of a wall that, by the way, because I was a prosecutor for many years, including the Attorney General of California, I specialize on transnational criminal organizations. Yeah. That wall ain't gonna stop them. No.
I mean, she is hideous to say that.
Total empty vessel, all opportunism. She has no policy. She's not going to fight for anything. Get her elected. She's going to do whatever the donors want. That's why they picked her in 2017. Literally 8 years ago, they picked her to be president. And now it's happening without us having a primary or interviews.
This is a really good interview. Hard hitting.
Hard hitting.
Okay. Ready? We better, can we speed up the replay? We can't, can we?
I wish I could.
I wish we could.
Sorry.
All right, here we go. We won't interrupt it quite so much, but it's just good to show, like, also like the border thing. Sorry.
Do you have any plans to visit the border?
At some point, we are going to the border. We've been to the border. So this whole thing about the border, we've been to the border. We've been to the border.
You haven't been to the border.
And I haven't been to Europe. And I don't understand the point that you're making. I'm not discounting the importance of the border.
Well, I mentioned.
Haven't been to Mexico.
I love that clip so much.
Yeah.
He did a journalism.
What's
you
your point?
haven't been to the border.
Yeah, good. I haven't been to China.
Hey.
Which border? Oh, the U.S. border?
Yeah. I haven't been to your mom's house.
I haven't been to Thailand. What the? I mean, oh my God. Okay. All right. Go ahead.
Rolling it.
Should voters look at some of the changes that you've made, that you've explained some of here in your policy? Is it because you have more experience now and you've learned more about the information? Is it because you were running for president in a Democratic primary? And should they feel comfortable and confident that what you're saying now is going to be your policy moving forward?
Dana, I think the most important and most significant aspect of my policy perspective and decisions is my values have not changed. You mentioned the Green New Deal.
Your policies are your.
I have always believed, and I have worked on it, that the climate crisis is real, that it is an urgent matter to which we should apply metrics that include holding ourselves to deadlines around time. We did that with the Inflation Reduction Act. We have set goals for the United States of America and by extension the globe around when we should meet certain standards for reduction of greenhouse gas emissions, as an example. That value has not changed. My value around what we need to do to secure our border, that value has not changed. I spent 2 terms as the Attorney General of California prosecuting transnational criminal organizations, violations of American laws regarding the illegal passage of guns, drugs, and human beings across our border. My values have not changed. So that is the reality of it. And 4 years of being vice president, I'll tell you, one of the aspects to your point is traveling the country extensively. I mean, I'm here in Georgia. I think somebody told me 17 times since I've been vice president in Georgia alone. I believe it is important to build consensus, and it is important to find a common place of understanding of where we can actually solve problems.
On that note, you had a lot of Republican speakers at the convention. Yeah. Will you appoint a Republican to your cabinet?
Yes, I would.
Anyone
yes,
in mind?
I would.
While you're telling us how Republican you are, like on that note, like the note is that you're saying Republican shit. Right here, you're saying you're gonna do all this Republican shit. Yeah. Your values haven't changed. Right. Well, how about a follow-up question about how does allowing fracking to happen get us anywhere in climate change? Every climate change organization on earth says we need to ban fracking. Like, how about that as a question?
Right. Or humans who are seeking asylum. And it's absolutely unconstitutional to deny them the ability. That's a right to seek asylum. Doesn't mean they all get it, but that is their right. That border bill would cut it off. I mean, it is so repellent. If your policies change, your values change. Your personnel, your policies, those are your values. Your budget, those are your values. She's just
no one in particular in mind. We got 68 days to go with this election, so I'm not putting the cart before the horse. But I would. I think it's really important. I have spent my career inviting diversity of opinion. I think it's important to have people at the table when some of the most important decisions are being made that have different views, different experiences. And I think it would be to the benefit of the American public to have a member of my cabinet who was a Republican.
They're never going to say, will you have any leftists on? Will you have a Palestinian American on? Oh, no, you didn't even let them speak at the, like, right. They got almost 1 million votes in the primary. These delegates who are, you know, anti-genocide, no follow-up on that. All right.
No, 100%. And but just to follow up on what you're saying, this interview was structured for that moment right there, which could come across to some as like a dumb thing to say, but this is what they wanted to get out. This right here. They closed the first section of the 3-phase interview. This was the commercial break because they wanted this to be the emphasis. And this became the thing that everybody talked about. Ooh, she's going to appoint a Republican. Like this is the message the Democrats are sending is we are very Republican. Don't worry about it.
Yep. Always. I beat the socialist. That was sure at the DNC. Yeah.
Got some left, but I think we need to do it.
I think you're right. Okay, here we go.
Yeah, baby.
Okay. I did just refill, so I'm gonna close it while everybody else refills or takes a hit or does whatever, and then I'll.
Yeah, baby.
There's the Lila I love.
There we go. I'm like, did I already have most of my bottle? I gotta pace myself just a little bit. All right, I'm gonna close it.
Need a bigger box of wine.
Baby.
My box of wine. Oh,
here.
Oh, I knew we did.
All serious.
All right, I'm
skip it. Let's just move on to a puppets. I think we need something light. What do you want to hear here?
No, it's fine. But we got to get to Chomsky later. Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Oh shit!
Frank's gonna kill it.
Oh, he's not happy.
Do you want to eat?
You're so cute. Yes, you are. I get that. No, I get that.
That's way cuter than, I mean, I think Chomsky's cute too, but I understand why you wanted a different vibe. Thank you for cutting that short because holy God.
Yeah,
okay.
Couldn't do the whole thing.
All right. Here we go.
I want to ask you about your opponent, Donald Trump.
Okay.
I was a little bit surprised. People might be surprised to hear that you have never interacted with him, met him face to face. That's going to change soon. But what I want to ask you about is what he said last month. He suggested that you happened to turn black recently for political purposes, questioning a core part of your identity.
Yeah.
Any
Same old tired playbook. Next question, please.
That's it?
That's it.
Okay.
Okay, that was, in my opinion, her best response. That was all. That was like, yeah, okay. We don't need to have a whole discussion.
Let's talk about some foreign policy issues that would be on your plate if you become commander-in-chief. President Biden has tried unsuccessfully to end the war between Israel and Hamas in Gaza. He's been doing it for months and months, along with you. Would you?
She cannot keep calling it the war between Israel and Hamas. It is a war on Palestinians. This is clearly not about Hamas.
If
they're now doing the same thing in the West Bank, no Hamas there. Sorry, go ahead.
You don't kill a couple 100,000, which is probably the real toll here. But let's just go with the toll that gets reported of pushing 50,000 people. There, 50,000 Hamas soldiers? No, you're killing kids and women and obviously men that aren't in the army, and it's just ridiculous. But Dana, what is her name?
Like Dan.
Dana.
Yeah.
I hate that so much. Sorry, anyone named Dana. Fucking hate it.
Most people are named Dana, but yeah, Dana.
All right. But she's just playing. She's like straight from Israel Hasbara. Like she's just pushing propaganda to the core. Like we got another clip of her later, but we'll.
Oh my God. Yeah. We'll
guess.
pepper it through. Let's just like get through a bit of this. Yeah.
Would you do anything differently? For example, would you withhold some U.S. weapons shipments to Israel? That's what a lot of people on the progressive left want you to do.
Wait a second. Just because she's such a fucking asshole, I hate her. Let's just see the poll. A lot of people on the progressive left.
Those wacky leftists.
There's the wacky leftists. 61% of all Americans, 77% of Democrats. Most of them are not on the left. 62% of independents, 79% of liberals. I'm sure that's considered left. 63% of moderates, 75% of blacks, 64% of Hispanics, 66% of women, 77% of under 30s want us to stop sending weapons.
And that's, what's not on this is like half of Republicans. Like it's factored in the Americans part, but half of Republicans are in agreement with you. Like this policy isn't to win votes. This policy is to lose the swing states at the cost of disappointing the donors. Basically.
They're choosing. I mean, and that's what Biden was choosing. And unfortunately, seeing some of people who I thought were our allies now get all behind Kamala shows that they weren't anti-genocide. They were anti-Biden. Like, I guess just kind of like Trump's tweets, Biden's oldness and whiteness was like offensive to their aesthetic sensibility, but it had nothing to do with policy, apparently, because her policies are all the same as Biden's, which are almost all the same as Trump's, but without the oldness or without the mean tweets.
There is no transition from Biden to her on anything. So they're trying to put her out as some sort of change candidate. Well, she does rock that. I saw this one the other day too. This is the newest one. The Barbie president, literal Barbie president is what we're doing here. But back to this policy here.
Yeah.
If you want to win the election, even if you don't believe it, she should be saying we should put an embargo in place, and I'll do that. But she could win 3 swing states right now. Like, it's going to lock it down here if she was to change her policy.
Swing states, Pat? Look at that. Why would you even worry about the swing states? Look at that.
Yeah.
What's she got to worry about? Trump's beating her in half of them, and she's well within the margin of error on everything else. Sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and her downside is coming. Like, she's at her peak before she talks to people.
Yeah.
Everybody knows Trump. Trump, they're imploding. His campaign is doing well, don't get me wrong. But they'll get their footing. And then as they get their footing, people are learning her policies. Oh, you're not actually a leftist at all? I didn't know that. Well, what the fuck? But anyway, she's losing. Jill Stein has doing just as well as she is with Muslims, and people don't know who Jill Stein is. And largely,
yeah, I mean, she doesn't have the same kind of like media effort and all the billionaires pushing her and manufacturing this big like popular joy campaign. Jill Stein and the Green Party, they're having to like scrounge and fight for every vote. And Muslim voters are evenly split between them. And by the way, Jill Stein is now, in spite of what the media reports, on 38 states' ballots, giving her, I think, a total 517 potential electoral votes. So
yeah, she could win it. I mean, look, will she? No,
but
but conceivably, she can win. She has enough electoral access to win, even losing a lot of states. She has enough access right now to win. So the left needs to at least, we need to make a mark with this. Like, so the people saying don't vote for Jill Stein or don't make a mark. What are we going to get out of this election? Nothing else. Like, policy in Palestine isn't going to change with either of these candidates. It's only going to change when we force them because we disrupt the economy somehow.
Yeah.
Or something drastic happens. But if we can't even get her to say, maybe we should tie the bombs to some policies that we put out, some vague ass, she can't even make a vague ass statement. you know. So like, you're not going to push her left after she wins if she can't do it to get the vote to actually win. It's so important for her to not even win, but just maintain that policy stance.
Especially, you're not going to pull her left if she fills her cabinet with Republicans. What are you talking about? Like, are they pushing her? Like, what are they talking about?
And Justin, I saw your post. He showed, you know, just the math behind the margin of error is just, it's
like 4 points. And she's not even where Hillary was.
Yeah. You can't just be ahead a couple points because of the electoral advantage that Republicans have, for one, but you got 6 to 7 swing states.
And if she's ahead, it's like 0.5. It's not even it's like maybe, I think one of them was like 1.5. Yeah, no, I mean, and here's the thing. I feel like I always have to say this qualifier. I hate Trump. He's disgusting. Can't stand him. Not a fan of RFK Jr. at all. Tulsi had 2 good moments as far as I am concerned in her whole career that I know about. One was endorsing Bernie and stepping back from her role in the DNC. And the second was when she took down Kamala. But other than that, she's awful. But she speaks well. She changes what she believes, but she's able to speak about it with conviction. And they feel on some level more left than Trump. So I think there's going to be a bit of a perception that Trump is actually inviting the left into his sphere, and they might have some effect. Like, I think that could actually really work in his favor.
No, look, that's what both parties are doing. Trump is trying to go left. You know, he's saying the 6 weeks is not enough for abortions. So, you know, but it's bullshit. He doesn't care about any of it. Your abortions don't matter to him, whether you have them or not. It's just winning. He's all for his own abortions, you know. But he's pretending to be left a little bit on stuff like the abortion stuff, the wars, you know. He'll get us out of Ukraine. Well, I'm glad about that, but he doesn't care.
He's also part of why we got into Ukraine, which, you know, all the Russiagating liberals are so like insanely underinformed that they don't even know that he's the one who started rearming Ukraine after Obama, stopped doing that. That's my big word, stop. But because, but he started giving them arms again. Like, he actually helped start pushing all of the, right. So like, but I do think he might end it because he's so wackadoo. He could end both of these things if he wanted to.
I don't know, but
look, unless he puts John Bolton back in there.
You could put some hope in there, but I mean, like, honestly, like, he's got Tulsi in his camp now, and they're out like, oh, Tulsi's a hero, superwoman for the left, for the right. You got RFK now in his camp. So like, there's those two people, which I don't agree with at all. They make a compelling argument to some of the people that believe them to this point. Right. So they're going to drag some of these people, the Door supporters, the whole Door folks are all going to go right. He may never say he does, but his audience base is all about fucking Trump and RFK Jr. and fucking Tulsi, go. But meanwhile, on Israel, they're just as awful.
Oh my
Rabbi
God.
Shmuley is one of the worst individuals to ever walk this planet.
Disgusting.
Absolute piece of shit. And he's out there praising Tulsi and RFK for going to Trump. And these are the people
RFK Jr. said that we should arm our borders the way Israel does against the Palestinians. That's what RFK Jr. said. He's disgusting.
Yeah, that's your anti-war guy who's not he's not a left or a right. He's just an independent thinker. That's why I love him. No, you love him because you don't believe in COVID and you're fucking dunce.
Yeah, exactly. But neither do the Democrats and neither do the establishment Republicans. So you got and sorry, but neither does.
Let me be very clear. I'm unequivocal and unwavering in my commitment to Israel's defense and its ability to defend itself. And that's not going to change. But let's take a step back. October 7, 1,200 people were massacred. Many young people who were simply attending a music festival. Women were horribly raped. As I said,
okay, there has not been one shred of proof of any rape on October 7th. And for her to keep saying this, it is so evil, because the only reason to talk about rape is to try to justify a genocide, which, by the way, it wouldn't anyway. Even if Hamas had raped all the women, which would be horrific, and killing people, horrific, civilians, horrific, even if they all just served in the army that is slaughtering all of your people and terrorizing your people, off duty, whatever. There are, the laws of war and all that kind of stuff, does not justify genociding Palestinian civilians and children and just destroying every part of their infrastructure, their museums, their libraries, their universities, their schools, killing aid workers and doctors and press, like none of that. And she still is going to lie. And meanwhile, every day we get more evidence of the torture camps, the rapes, honestly, the latest rape, the Human Rights Watch. Sorry, I just want to. Okay, this was from when? August 26th. New report documents Israel's torture of Palestinian healthcare workers. So targeting, just the way they target press, targeting healthcare workers. Cases all follow a pattern. In this, one of the healthcare workers, a paramedic, says that the personnel at the facility suspended him from a chain. This is after like days of torture and being beaten. His feet weren't touching the ground, dressed him in a garment and a headband that were attached to wires, and shocked him with electricity. He said, the world was spinning around. I fainted. They hit me with batons. I kept fainting and hallucinating. He kept asking me about the hostages and moving Hamas hostages and where I was on October 7th. With every question, I was electroshocked to wake me up. He told me to confess. Confess and we will stop torturing you. Then he says, the other detainees at the same camp were also sick and wounded, and a man who was visibly bleeding from his bottom was brought in and placed next to Khalil. The man told Khalili that before he was placed in detention, 3 soldiers took turns raping him with an M16. I mean, but every day there's a new, not only are we seeing women and children and men and civilians and press and doctors and healthcare workers being slaughtered, decapitated, shredded. They have polio. They are drinking sewage water because there's no water. And this woman is still going to lie about rapes that never happened when we have mountains of evidence of rapes and tortures that are happening. And what is Israel defending itself from exactly? Do Palestinians have a right to, what?
This is why she was chosen to give this interview, because they knew she would be safe on Israel, the most important policy for Democrats to push at this point. And if you think there's any sort of leftist bullshit with Kamala, oh, she's just thinking that, but they're going to really be more left after they get past this election, you are insane. They're not going to be more left after the election. If they won't admit to something now, they're not going to do it because they're going to have too much pressure from their donors. But back to the torture issue itself. Here we are with the Democrats for the first time in fucking 50 years took torture out of their platform. Opposing torture isn't in the Democratic platform anymore. At the same time as all this torture is happening right now in our name in Israel.
For the first time. Yeah. They just blew up another UN aid truck. I mean, they are targeting anything that could help Palestinians survive. And every single, B'Tselem, has done a really good job, I think, on all these torture camps. And, sadly, because they're Jewish, I think, or, it's like an Israeli Jewish organization. I think some Jews maybe give them more, or are more willing to believe them, right? Like I keep hearing, oh, is that the Hamas, Middle East, or, it's like, oh, these are the Hamas reported numbers, or this is the Qatar funded Al Jazeera. It's like there's always something, because anybody who's Arab or Muslim or brown, they try to use that to taint the numbers because everybody's so disgustingly racist. But this is the crazy thing is, on Channel 12 in Israel, they showed the actual gang rape of one of their prisoners, because they caught this on closed circuit TV. Sorry. Yes, this is my third glass of wine. Closed circuit TV. And then after showing it on Channel 12, two of their pundits start having an argument. And one of them says that, yeah, we should be allowed to rape. And they have it coming, and maybe it will be some sort of, not diversion, dissuasion. And then there are riots for the right to rape. So they're actually not even, the US doesn't know it. Anybody who watches any corporate media in the US, they might not know that this is like a widespread belief. But the guy who was the one who started that rape, that they all tried to hide him with the shields, at first he hid his face when he came on Channel 12. Now they parade him out. He's a hero.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He's literally, he was on like a game show the other day.
It's disgusting. Yeah.
It's just, look, your culture, I hate to blame Israel, but like they teach this culture there. So many people are brought up to believe this stuff, that these Palestinians are less human than them. That's it. And for us to back this as the US is just obviously disgusting. We all know that, but the whole world sees what we're doing, and we're complicit in this every step of the way, according to the whole world. And so there was a backlash on Germany and the allies for supporting a fucking Nazi. You don't think we're going to get some cost over here?
Oh my
Not
God.
we should get a cost, but how this makes us, like, this is not for our safety. That's how disgusting capitalism is at this point. Like the capture of our politicians, it doesn't matter. It doesn't help anybody. And they just will do things that don't help anybody but them personally. That's where we're at.
It's truly where we're at. And every time we see anything like the number of people who support Medicare for All, a Green New Deal, an arms embargo, and we're clearly not a democracy because, like they keep saying, we just need to convince more people. We need to, for Medicare for All or whatever. No, you don't. Most of the country wants it. You don't need to convince the people. The only people you need to convince are the 538 people walking through the halls of Congress who are so beholden to their corporate donors that they're just going to pretend that we just need a few more Democrats. No, it's never going to be enough, because you're never going to have enough money to satisfy your craven, pathological desire for power and money.
On the other hand, if we all just give all of our money to the handful of politicians like AOC, they're going to save us. Or they're going to put out videos saying that the third parties are the devil and don't trust the third parties. Spicy take here.
Lying on her back like gross. This was from a couple of months ago, but anybody who has looked into what's been going on in Israel and Palestine knows about decades of rape and atrocities and human rights violations and terrorism by Israelis against Palestinians, whether it's in the West Bank or Gaza or Lebanon or, like taking over the Golan Heights. Like it goes on and on and on, right? So Pramila Jayapal, who's no hero for me, but did give like the slightest bit of pushback against Dana Bash. And here's the response.
Dana.
Here we go. Dana. Yeah, maybe I'm just going to call her Dana. Dana Fash.
In fact, I was just asking about the women, and you turned it back to Israel. I'm asking you about Hamas. In fact,
I already answered your question, Dana. I said it's horrific, and I think that rape is horrific, sexual assault is horrific. I think that it happens in war situations. Terrorist organizations like Hamas obviously are using these as tools. However, I think we have to be balanced about bringing in the outrages against Palestinians. 15,000 Palestinians have been killed in Israeli airstrikes, 3/4 of whom are women and children.
And it's horrible, but you don't see Israeli soldiers raping
well, Dana,
Palestinian
I think
women.
You actually do.
Really,
we have it on video.
Really good point, Dana. Great point. Holding on to
We
this
have it
photo
on
for 9 months. It's from the Iron Swords Telegram page, where Israeli soldiers happily post their war crimes with impunity. Naked men tied up, blindfolded. That's a war crime. Beaten, raped. They're proudly parading their rapes on their national TV stations.
Yeah, and we brought it up before, but something like 50 Palestinians have died from sexual assault in prison. And that doesn't happen unless there's like, if you want to talk about an institutional policy, like how many people are being raped in prison that 50 died? Like, that's not.
I mean, they're just, they've shut
Can we
it all
do a
down.
journalism?
Yeah.
Dana?
No, never. She never will. Craig, he's a human rights lawyer, Craig Mokaber, I'm going to say it wrong, just put out a piece talking about how when the Geneva Conventions happened and they talked about what makes a person complicit or, an institution complicit in genocide, it's not only carrying out the extermination of a people, but the third pillar is the role of complicit media corporations knowingly disseminating Israeli disinformation and propaganda, justifying war crimes and crimes against humanity, dehumanizing Palestinians, and blacking out information on the genocide in the West. From the perspective of international human rights law, such actions could and should be subject to sanctions. False Israeli disinformation propaganda are regularly and uncritically published in Western media to justify war crimes, dehumanize Palestinians, and distract the public from the daily atrocities committed in Israel's campaign of extermination. Reporters, and we knew this from the very first day, even the White House said they couldn't talk about, couldn't use certain words. Reporters are instructed not to mention occupied territory, Palestinians, or refugee camps. Those Palestinian civilian victims who are not erased entirely are reduced to collateral damage, human shields at best, or terrorists at worst. In the rulebook of Western corporate media, there is no genocide, only a war of self-defense, and history started on October 7th. Absent is any coverage of the context of 76 years of ethnic cleansing, persecution, mass imprisonment, gross violations of human rights, and apartheid.
Yeah, it's disgusting. And I feel like we should just take a quick pause to show people Dana, to show them who she is. She's our worst of the week. I mean, AOC, that was late breaking news
a hard
today.
Tie. Yeah.
So we'll call it a tie, but let's. All right, let's look at how she talked about protesters. And if you watch CNN regularly, which I do just to be onto their bullshit,
to raise your blood pressure.
Hardcore Zionist. She spreads so much information on the daily. She has to know what she's doing at this point.
Disinformation.
Thank you.
Many of these protests started peacefully with legitimate questions about the war, but in many cases, they lost the plot. They're calling for a ceasefire. Well, there was a ceasefire on October 6th, the day before Hamas terrorists brutally murdered more than 1,000 people inside Israel and took hundreds more as hostages. This hour, I'll speak to an American-Israeli family whose son is still held captive by Hamas since that horrifying day that brought us to this moment. You don't hear the pro-Palestinian protesters talking about that. We will. Now, protesting the way the Israeli government, the Israeli prime minister is prosecuting the retaliatory war against Hamas is one thing. Making Jewish students feel unsafe at their own schools is unacceptable, and it is happening way too much right now.
I'm a UCLA student. I deserve to go here. We pay tuition. This is our school, and they're not letting me walk in. My class is over there. I want to use that entrance. Why can't they go? Will you let me go in? This could be over in a second. Just let me and my friends go in.
Again, what you just saw is 2024 in Los Angeles, harkening back to the 1930s in Europe, and I do not say that lightly. The fear among Jews in this country is palpable right now.
Get over it. You're a fucking idiot. Really?
The 1930s. The 1930s. And that clip was so out of context, it's ridiculous. But
here's what has happened.
There are so many Israeli people supporting Palestine at these events. There is
Jewish.
no,
I would say Jewish.
I mean,
I don't know about
Jewish. Sorry,
Israeli, but yeah, let's not conflate because no, sorry, just want to.
There's so many Zionists.
Yeah, and by the okay, so just like a couple things. I know we've shown this graphic a million times. This is on the left, and I think this is an undercount, but Steven Semler, friend of show, has administrative detainees who are hostages, right? They're held for no reason. They're just snatched up a lot of times in the middle of the night. A lot of them are children. Israel has, honestly, I think it's closer to 10,000, but okay. Even on this very conservative graphic, 3,661 to the 130 hostages held by Hamas. That's number one. Also, in our country, two things have happened. The ADL has pumped up the numbers of anti-Semitic attacks. Anytime somebody says from the river to the sea, even if it happens 30 times at one protest, that counts as 30 separate events of anti-Semitism. So not only is saying from the river to the sea not anti-Semitic, but also each separate instance gets to count. So that's how they've inflated their numbers. By inflating their numbers, they stoke the fear. Since October 7th, the only people who have been beaten, skunk sprayed, stabbed to death, this 6-year-old boy, by his landlord, and his mother was also stabbed, but she didn't die. The 3 Palestinian American students who I think were at Brown the night before Thanksgiving, shot in the back. One of them is paralyzed from the waist, from the neck down. I think from the neck down. And then the protests at UCLA, which were completely peaceful until the Zionists showed up and started throwing fireworks, hitting them, beating them, and the police just stood there and watched. And the guy who said, I want to go through here, I want to go through here, he could have walked 3 feet over and gone down the same sidewalk that everybody else was going down. That was a plant. He was trying to like stoke outrage.
Yeah, it's bullshit, but that's where Dana is doing her job.
Why are you being so nice
and that's
to her?
why she got the highly prestigious first interview tape recorded with Kamala and her VP, because even then Kamala could fucking blow it. But she brings up Israel calling for, Hamas
ceasefire.
never wants a ceasefire. Oh, they're always rejecting ceasefire deals. No, that's October, November, January, February, March, June, August.
And this is where U.S. media is framing them and vetoing at the UN. What did they? Three vetoes at the UN. And there was just, I think the Drop site, Jeremy Scahill and Ryan Grimm's new site, just posted something right before we came on where, like June 2nd, through the official channels, Hamas said we agree to the ceasefire. It's just lies.
You know who doesn't want a ceasefire? The U.S. doesn't want a ceasefire because Israel doesn't want a ceasefire. That's it.
Yeah.
The rest of the world wants a fucking ceasefire.
And also going back to the thing about Jews feeling unsafe. I mean, yeah, I think there are a lot of Jews who are like really heavily propagandized. And anytime that somebody advocates for Palestinians, they feel like it's, pieces of the pie that are being taken from them, as opposed to like, we could all coexist the way they did before, the Balfour Declaration and Herzl and Zionism started this whole disgusting project. But a lot of Jews who are anti-Zionist, who have been at these encampments, who have been at these marches, including professors, students, feel a lot of solidarity. And the one time that they feel attacked is when their administration calls in the fucking cops on them and they get beaten and hauled off to jail.
Should we show the clip of the professor?
Yeah, from Dartmouth.
Dartmouth. Sorry, got to correct you.
Dana.
That's right, and campus is a lot more calm now, but she said the green was unrecognizable last night. She also wanted to address Governor Sununu, saying all these protests are anti-Semitic, saying she's Jewish and she only felt unsafe when police intervened.
I was mad because they had taken my phone, and I was mad because they just body slammed me and it hurt. And so I went, I was like, give me back my phone, that I'm trying to get my phone back. I did, and at that moment, 3 police lifted me up in the air, slammed me down onto the ground. I mean, threw me down onto the ground on my bad shoulder. They said I was resisting arrest.
Video captured by News 9 shows the moment Dartmouth College professor Annalise Orlek was arrested by police during last night's protest. The 65-year-old says she was among a handful of professors who showed up to support students at what she says was a peaceful protest until law enforcement arrived in riot gear.
It's really shameful in a sleepy little campus, in a rural area like Dartmouth, that they brought in this ridiculous show of arms and strength and violence.
Orlek, who's been a professor at Dartmouth for more than 3 decades, says part of her bail condition is being banned from Dartmouth's campus. She says her emails to the institution have gone unanswered.
I've been employed here for 34 years, long before the current senior administration came here. And, I am told I'm not welcome on that property. My message is stop weaponizing anti-Semitism, talk to your students, talk to your staff, don't assault 65-year-old women in the name of keeping the campus safe.
I mean,
Jewish professor at the school.
You can tell that she's like, they threw me on my bad shoulder, That's what I sound like too.
All right, should we roll this video?
Yeah,
look, we'll probably stop it.
Yeah.
The last 5 minutes of it or 10 minutes of it is just a fluff, like, Walz, where are you from? Tell us your backstory. How good of a person are you? So, but we'll play a few more minutes.
We can fast forward it. I think before we put it, like we can scrub it through. Yeah, I'll help you.
Then I say today, Israel has a right to defend itself. We would. And how it does so matters. Far too many innocent Palestinians have been killed. And we have got to get a deal done. We were in Doha. Mm-hmm. We have to get a deal done. This war must end.
And in the meantime,
and we must get a deal that is about getting the hostages out. I've met with the families of the American hostages. Let's get the hostages out. Let's get the ceasefire done.
But no change in policy in terms of arms and so forth.
No, we have to get a deal done. Dana, we have to get a deal done. When you look at the significance of this to the families, to the people who are living in that region, a deal is not only the right thing to do to end this war, but will unlock so much of what must happen next. I remain committed since I've been on October 8 to what we must do to work toward a 2-state solution.
Israel does not want a 2-state solution.
And nobody thinks that that's actually the way to solve it now. It's like Black Lives Matter. Like liberals hated Black Lives Matter in 2015 because what about white people? And it's so exclusionary. And then when it became a real policy, like defund the police, like, why don't we go? That's so off-putting. I'm Black Lives Matter. And it's the same thing. Like forever, we've been talking about two-state solution. There have been, you know, all the different accords and meetings and all that. It's all been a way to like obfuscate and divert and time stall as Israel kept snatching up more land. Now, the thing to say is two-state solution when the solution is one state with everybody with equal rights, because Israel's already taken up way more of the land. So a two-state solution would be Palestinians living on, you know, a plot of land that's covered in debris and cancerous toxins and polio and raw sewage and no infrastructure, and in the West Bank where the settlers have grabbed more land. So there's no two-state solution. There is one state. And anybody saying that, to me, it's like the, you know, white people who now want to talk about Black Lives Matter and the black square, but defund the police is really, it's not a great messaging.
Yeah. We'll give them bombs unconditionally, even though they're not agreeing to our thing that's not even possible. And I'm going to continue the same policy. Like,
yeah,
if you're trying to win the office, you at least put out some differentiation between you and them. Like, you could even,
she won't even lie to get elected.
She's so worried about losing support from the donors, not the voters, the fucking donors.
Yep.
All right, let's just keep going.
Yeah.
Piece of shit.
Where Israel is secure, and in equal measure, the Palestinians have security and self-determination and dignity.
Governor Walz, the country is just starting to get to know you. I want to ask you a question about how you've described your service in the National Guard.
This is all fluff.
You said that
here.
you carried weapons in war, but you have never deployed actually in a war zone.
Okay, so this is, I think, awful. What Dana Bash basically just says, like, well, you never carried weapons in war in what you like, you never actually fought. He did carry weapons in war. He just didn't fight. Like, he was in the reserves. Sorry, my chair is like buckling under here. But she's basically just taking like Trump's talking points and just handing them off. And this, it's just embarrassing. Like, you don't even have to do this. And I don't feel bad for anybody. They're all awful and complicit. But anyway, yeah.
It's all just to diffuse it, you know. That's the whole point. I mean, and look, the Trump stuff
not
about
biased.
his war record should be diffused. It's stupid. But where this goes from here is just like, it's all the softest of soft stuff.
Yeah.
Like, there's not even pretense. It's like, oh, tell us about how you grew up and you're great. You got a dog? Oh, tell us about your dog.
Joy. I feel the vibes. Yeah. All right. Are you pressing play?
Sure.
A campaign official said that you misspoke. Did you?
Well, first of all, I'm incredibly proud. I've done 24 years of wearing the uniform of this country. Equally proud of my service in a public school classroom, whether it's Congress or the governor. My record speaks for itself, but I think people are coming to get to know me. I speak like they do. I speak candidly. I wear my emotions on my sleeves, and I speak especially passionately about our children being shot in schools and around guns. So I think people know me. They know who I am. They know where my heart is. And again, my record has been out there for over 40 years to speak for itself.
And the idea that you said that you were in war, did you misspeak as the campaign has said?
Yeah, I said we were talking about, in this case, this was after a school shooting, the ideas of carrying these weapons of war. And my wife, the English teacher, told me my grammar is not always correct. But again, if it's not this, it's an attack on my children for showing love for me, or it's an attack on my dog. I'm not going to do that. And the one thing I'll never do is I'll never demean another member's service in any way. I never have, and I never will.
One other question, because again, this is all new. I mean, this was not, however many days ago, this was not on either of your bingo cards, especially yours. You had to clarify that you had said that you and your wife used IVF, but it turned out you used a different kind of fertility in order to have children. And then when you ran for Congress in 2006, your campaign repeatedly made false statements about a 1995 arrest for drunk and reckless driving. What do you say?
Okay, that we never get into, and I meant to do some research on that. What are they talking about? Was that him?
I know very little bit about it, honestly.
Yeah. Okay.
Say to voters who aren't sure whether they can take you at your word.
Well, I've been very public. I think they can see my students come out, former folks I've served with, and they vouch for me. I certainly own my mistakes when I make them. The one thing I'll tell you is I wished in this country wouldn't have to do this. I spoke about our infertility issues because it's hell, and families know this. And I spoke about the treatments that were available to us that had those beautiful children there. That's quite a contrast in folks that are trying to take those rights away from us. And so I think people know who I am. They know that record. They've seen that. I've taught thousands of students. I've been out there. And I won't apologize for speaking passionately, whether it's guns in schools or protecting of reproductive rights. The contrast could not be clearer between what we're running against. The Vice President's position on this has been clear. And I think most Americans get it if you've been through that. I don't think they're cutting hairs on IVF or IUI. I think what they're cutting hairs on is an abortion ban and the ability to be able to deny families the chance to have a beautiful child.
Vice President Harris, you were a very staunch defender of President Biden's capacity to serve another 4 years. Right after the debate, you insisted that President Biden is extraordinarily strong. Given where we are now, do you have any regrets about what you told the American people?
No, not at all. Not at all. I have
It was a debate.
served with President Biden for almost 4 years now, and I'll tell you, it's one of the greatest honors of my career. Truly. He cares so deeply about the American people. He is so smart and loyal to the American people. And I have spent hours upon hours with him, be it in the Oval Office or the Situation Room. He has the intelligence, the commitment, and the judgment and disposition that I think the American people rightly deserve in their president.
His values haven't
By contrast,
changed.
the former president has none of that. And so, one, I am so proud to have served as vice president to Joe Biden. And two, I am so proud to be
served like he's
with
dead,
Tim Walz
by the way,
for president of the United States, and to bring America what I believe the American people deserve, which is a new way forward, and turn the page on the last decade of what I believe has been contrary to where the spirit of our country really lies.
Which is in genocide.
The last decade has been terrible. You were VP during 4 of those years of this terrible last decade. You're not a change candidate. If you're a change candidate, you're changing the pretense that the Democrats are left to. Let's build a wall. Let's frack. Let's fucking
more cops.
bomb the
We need
shit out of
more
Palestinians.
Agents on the border. More fracking. More genocide.
Last decade, of course, the last 3.5 years has been part of your administration.
I'm talking about an era that started about a decade ago, where there is some
The last 3 years are
suggestion,
part of that era.
warped, I believe it to be,
Last 3 years.
that the measure of the strength of a leader is based on who you beat down, instead of where I believe most Americans are, which is to believe that the true measure of the strength of a leader is based on who you lift up. That's what's at
Katie
stake
Vance
as much as
fucks
any other
couches.
detail that we could discuss in this election.
Weird.
Because we haven't had a chance to talk, I'm just curious.
Bringing
staying on
polio
President
back
Biden,
to
when he called you and said he
Palestinians.
was pulling out of the race,
Who
what
did
was
you
that
call?
like? And did he offer to endorse you right away, or did you ask for it?
It was a Sunday, so here I'll give you a little too much information.
No,
Go for it.
I'm going to fast
There's no
forward
such
it.
thing.
But
Finally, investing in America's infrastructure, investing in new economies, in new industries, what we have done to bring our allies back together and have confidence in who we are as America and grow that alliance, what we have done to stand true to our principles, including one of the most important international rules and norms, which is the importance of sovereignty and territorial integrity.
I mean, what
And
the
I think history is going to show not only has Joe Biden led an administration that has achieved those extraordinary successes, but the character of the man is one that he has been in his life and career including as a president, quite selfless and puts the American people first.
I just have to ask you both about two standout moments, aside, of course, from the addresses that you both gave, but standout moments that were perhaps unexpected during the convention. You mentioned one of them, Governor. A moment that you shared, that the world shared with your son, Gus. You were speaking, the camera caught him, so incredibly proud of you, so emotional.
Okay. How is this an interview at this point? From like,
it's just a fluff job. It's like a big Valentine
these people
to them. Yeah.
46 days, they haven't talked to anybody. And we're going to watch this thing. How does it feel when your kid got mocked? It's pulling on the heartstrings, but that's not your job. This is somebody that has hidden from the press for 46 fucking days. This was so insulting to hear this shit.
That's my dad.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
No, I just want to get.
I don't know as a father I could have ever imagined that. I'm grateful for so many reasons to be on this ticket, but that moment, to understand what was really important, to have my son feel a sense of pride in me, that I was trying to do the right thing. And it was, you try and protect your kids, it brings notoriety and things, but it was just such a visceral, emotional moment that I'm grateful I got to experience it, and I'm so proud of him. I'm proud of him. I'm proud of Hope. I'm proud of Gwen. She's a wonderful mother, and these are great kids. And I think the one thing is talking about the era we're in is our politics can be better. It can be different. We can show some of these things, and we can have families involved in this. And I hope
I'll pay you $10 next week.
I hope people
I
felt that out
apologize.
there, and I hope they hug their kids a little tighter, because you just never know, and life can be kind of hard.
And last question, Madam Vice President, the photograph that has gone viral. You were speaking, one of your grandnieces that
you were that little girl
was watching you accept the nomination. You didn't explicitly talk about gender or race in your speech, but it
everybody else
means
is
a
doing
lot
it
to a
for
lot
her.
of people, and that viral picture really says it. What does it mean to you?
I am running because I believe that I am the best person to do this job at this moment. For all Americans, regardless of race and gender. But I did see that photograph, and I was deeply touched by it. And you're right, it's the back of her head, her two little braids, and then I'm in the front of the photograph, obviously speaking. And it's very humbling. It's very humbling in many ways.
Did she talk to you about it afterwards?
Oh, she had a lot to talk about. She had a lot. She listened to everything, and she listens to everything.
She gave you your hot takes?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Madam Vice President, Governor Walz, thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you, Dana. Thank you.
I mean, the best person to do this job, it's so hilarious, does not even have policies on her page. And yet, just we're all heckling together to live. We just want to go back really quickly and thank Lynn. Thank you. And I'm sorry we made you do this, but cheers to you.
Yes,
thank you.
I apologize.
Very kind and generous. And
we used to do it, watched it, so you didn't have to. And now I'm like, I need you guys to live.
Yeah. Nope. Now we're all gonna watch it, and we all have to. Yeah, that was really painful. Not any great questions. And I just don't understand how you can say, oh, we didn't even get to the Medicare for All bit where she says she's not for Medicare for All. And then she didn't even call her out on it. She didn't even call her out on it.
Yeah.
But in 2019, no, we watched the whole thing. In 2019, I mean, she's already said she's not for it, but like
yes,
I thought, but Dana Bash did not even ask her about it. But like in 2019, she was so, and this is listen, I know we all know these things, but like the reason to have a primary is to force people to back up their record, talk about their policies, have to defend their policies, possibly get pushed one way or the other, seeing what the people want. They took all of that away from us in their big quest to save democracy. So in 2019, when she had to pretend that she was just as progressive as Bernie, she's like, yeah. And she was right. Yeah. get rid of the private insurance. Who cares? We don't need that. Skip that step. She's right. But nobody's going to call her out on that. Now we skipped over all that. Now we're at the recipe stage of her candidacy. That's it. That's where we are. Tabasco in her pocket.
It's very painful. And like you said, you have a primary, they have to pretend to be left, and that gets the left something because they got to pass something that sort of presents itself as the left. But now we're skipping that. We're going to build the wall. We're banning fracking, like out the gates. So like
more border patrol.
You're not going to push her left when she's starting out because there was no fake primary. There's no fake left.
Yep.
It's just appealing to the centrists, which is the donor's wet dream right here. Especially with the person they picked in 2017, because she's such an empty, vapid slate of a candidate.
Yeah.
She's got nothing. She doesn't care about a fucking thing. So I want to, I know we're going to wrap this show up pretty quick, but I want to show a Trump commercial because I think what people don't realize is a lot of people are just sort of learning about her for the first time and they saw some of this stuff. But there's a history of her that we've shown some of over the years that's going to come out and harm her a lot. So like, I think she peaked at the convention, and unless Trump blows it severely, he's in better shape than she is now. I don't know how she grows unless he really steps on it, which he could do.
Yeah, I mean, he's not doing great, but I think bringing in, I'm not a fan of either of these two, but bringing in RFK Jr. and Tulsi is going to bring some vitality to this campaign, I think. But yeah, she's definitely provided tons of material for the opposition.
Yeah, so there's some entertainment value in this clip. It is a Trump ad, so yeah.
We've been to the border.
You haven't been to the border.
And I haven't been to Europe. And I don't understand the point that you're making.
Talking about the significance of the passage of time, right? The significance of the passage of time. So when you think about it, there is great significance to the passage of time.
Ukraine is a country in Europe. It exists next to another country called Russia. Russia is a bigger country. Russia is a powerful country. Russia decided to invade a smaller country called Ukraine. So basically that's wrong.
So you're now no longer are you necessarily keeping those private files in some file cabinet that's locked in the basement of the house. It's on your laptop, and it's then therefore up here in this cloud that exists above us, right?
The Caribbean nations, island nations. In the Western Hemisphere, that is where the Caribbean is, we are also in the Western Hemisphere. They are our neighbors. I am here, standing here on the northern flank, on the eastern flank, talking about what we have in terms of the eastern flank. I can imagine what can be and be unburdened by what has been, Space is exciting. It is time for us to do what we have been doing, and that time is every day. Every day it is time for us to agree that there are things and tools that are available to us to slow this thing down. We will work together and continue to work together to address these issues, to tackle these challenges, and to work together as we continue to work.
Do you ban plastic straws?
I think we should. Yes. I mean, look, I'm going to be honest. It's really difficult to drink out of a paper straw when if you don't gulp it down immediately, it starts to bend. Yes. And then, the little thing catches it. And then, so we got to kind of perfect that one a little bit more.
Do you know, okay, a bit of a history lesson. Do you know that the women's teams were not allowed to have brackets until 2022?
So the United States shares a very important relationship, which is an alliance with the Republic of North Korea. AI is kind of a fancy thing. First of all, it's 2 letters. It means artificial intelligence.
We've been to the...
Well, I did not mean to... I would not
make us watch that again. Yeah. I mean, listen, I mean, it's funny. It's going to do for his base what needs to happen and yada, yada. I know we could pull clips from any politician, any public figure with all of their missteps. The problem is she really doesn't have any non-missteps. She doesn't believe in anything. She doesn't have any policies. She doesn't have any integrity. She doesn't have a history for fighting for any policies. She flip-flops on whatever, wherever, which way the wind blows. So because of that, she can't speak on anything with any authority or conviction.
Yeah.
So that's her word salad. So that's why she gets into this. So like this actually is representative of who she is. If it were, you could do this to me, of course.
No,
like you could do this to anybody, but like it truly is representation of who she is, because there's just nothing there.
And the thing is, exactly as you said, like you could create a clip and take things out of context and do, make anyone look bad, right? But if you expanded this clip with all the clips, like you just used the existing clips and showed more of them, she would look worse, but they're trying to make it 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Like she is such a vapid, empty vessel and doesn't do her research, which is another thing Dana said the other day. She's like, well, she does her research. No, that wasn't Dana. That was, what's her name? The one of the black reporters.
Oh, Abby Phillips.
Abby Phillips.
Yeah.
It was Abby Phillips. She's like, well, she's known for doing her research. No, the criticism of her actually is that she doesn't do her research. That literally a criticism.
It's crazy.
That's literally one of the knocks on her. Is she doesn't do her homework. And I know people personally that worked with her, and that was the biggest complaint they had, is that she's lazy. I don't want to use a trope because lazy is a trope that gets attacked to black people falsely. That's a ridiculous one.
Now you're making me say I'm racist. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying she didn't do her, like she's lazy. She didn't
do her research. She didn't do the work. She didn't care. She wasn't committed to anything. That was the whole knock on all the people I know who worked with her as a DA.
There's just
and
so
as an
much
AG.
turnover. Yeah. Which is why, I feel like, oh my God, it's so late. There's so much stuff. I really wanted to show this great clip of Kat Brooks in Oakland, who ran for mayor of Oakland a couple times, but it's so good. All right.
Yeah, we were going to go out on this, but we have something actually positive to go out on. Let's show this and come back and say goodbye pretty much.
Right. But fill her up, everybody. I saw people putting up the weed and keep going. I'm going. And just the
point of this clip is Californians have known her and rejected her once she hit a national stage. Like rejected wholeheartedly. She was going to come in 7th in California, which is why they took her off the ballot when they sank Bernie. She was going to get 7th in her own state. So pretending she's popular, she is not popular. Activists fucking
just
hate
in
her.
the sake of accuracy, so nobody's like, I think it was 5th, but maybe you're right. 7th.
Don't fact check me, Lila. She was going to come in 17th.
She was going to come in
17th.
Last place.
Behind Pickle Rick. Pickle Rick was beating her in California.
This is Kat Brooks.
The world doesn't know the Kamala we know. The world doesn't know the Kamala that was AG when the rebellions for Oscar Grant were happening and there was a full-blown war being waged on our bodies in these streets, and she said and did nothing. They don't know the Kamala that when people were making efforts to decarcerate, when people were making efforts to try and get some of the boot of white supremacy off of the necks and the backs of our folks in American concentration camps, she said and did nothing. Folks don't know the Kamala that ignored calls and pleas and begs from families who had had their loved ones stolen from them in the most egregious and horrific of ways. I don't care what her ancestry is. I don't care that her parents were in protests and marches, because that's the narrative, right? She from Oakland. She was at protests in a stroller where she wasn't never there on her own 2 feet. Not once, not never. Even more important than that, she's been the vice president the entire time. The genocide Joe has been unapologetically shredding children and women with bombs. And unless I missed it, I never saw her come out and say, I condemn the actions of this president. I never heard her say ceasefire right now. Never saw her hold any of our Palestinian relatives and say, I'm sorry. Never saw her on the front lines of any of the protests right outside of the White House doors demanding a free Palestine that I'm missing. President. I said, yeah, you're right. And there is a crack here. There is a crack here in terms of organizing. The expectation of the state is that we're going to turn down. Turn down for what? Turn down for what? Turn down for who? Now is the time to escalate, actually. Now is the time. You see that little fracture that you have gone? Now is time for the millions of our bodies demanding a free Palestine to cram our asses inside of that crack and blow it wide open. And let the Democratic Party know your seat ain't safe as long as Palestine isn't safe. Your seat ain't safe because you put a black face on the tickets. And so we make the demands.
So that's Kat Brooks. I think she's run for mayor a couple times in Oakland. She's great. Yeah. I mean, seriously.
Amazing. And that is the point, is that we have a crack here. Use it. Use it. Don't come out like AOC Pelosi and say, oh, who are these silly greens? Haha, hilarious. Get out of here. Like, use this. We need to make a mark.
I think I could not be more repulsed by AOC Pelosi. She just takes it another step further. It's amazing.
Just gunning for hatred.
Oh, Helen, is it?
Are you checking?
Sorry, I don't know. I'm trying to read stuff fast and I can't get there and it's really late. Okay, we did not cover any of COVID stuff and there is a ton out there. We will do that on Wednesday. It's really late. We should be done, right? So
we should let people off the hook here.
Yeah.
Thank you.
One of the things we were talking about is how crazy it is that Macklemore is the only person who's written any like anti-war songs in the last year. And even, I mean, a few years now that we've been with these endless wars. So it was really fun to see. And I'm going, oh gosh, now I can't remember who actually
Super Gold. Oh, who
shared it with, but somebody else shared it. And I will give that person credit also because I wouldn't have known. But this is a singer-songwriter who's doing some really great work.
And Lila pointed me to him. And I looked at all his TikToks and like the clip we wanted to show, find the whole song that was anti-war, and we couldn't because it's not out there with the video.
Right.
But his singing is amazing. But I looked at all his stuff and he's like such a hardcore ally, and all his issues are about worker rights and
really prolific. Like there's a song on everything, right? Yeah.
And he's good. So please support him. He's seems like a cool guy. Super Gold.
Name it Super Gold. We will see you all on Wednesday. Thank you all for being here with us. We love you. Thank you for the super chats and the memberships and all those things. You guys are awesome. We love you. Keep punching up.
Cheers.
Cheers.
To be a man and then vote for a woman just because she's a woman is either childish, that person has mommy issues, or they're just trying to be accepted by other women. And I heard the scientists say the other day that when a man votes for a woman, he actually transitions into a woman.
Oh, yeah, that's